a functionality that is not there already in the system, then what you will do, right? For that kind of thing, you will do programming, right? So programming can be done using Visual Force or Apex. So let's say if you want to do designing like these check boxes, these labels, everything you will do with Visual Force, right? And the logic behind this page, right? The logic is like, if you will click on the save, then what will happen? The complete data will be saved in database. So that kind of logic you will achieve using Apex, right? So Salesforce, as we all are aware, Salesforce has two UIs, two user interfaces. The one is classic, the old one, and the new one is Lightning. So first we will cover the Apex. So that is related to classic and Lightning both, and we'll cover Visual Force as well, but that is only related to classic. And after that we'll do the Lightning part as well. Okay. So let's just first discuss. So let's just first discuss about Salesforce Apex, right? So what is an Apex? Apex is a server-side language. What do you mean by server-side? So as we all are aware, right? So there are certain things that you will achieve at the time of programming. Let me just open and draw a diagram for you. So let's say this is your Salesforce application, right? And at the same time, I have a database. So this is my database, right? This is Salesforce UI, and this is Salesforce database. So what do you mean by database? Do we have anybody in this class who is not aware about what is database? Guys, if you have any question, if I'm asking something and if you are not aware about that, please ask directly, right? So I'm asking again, do we have anybody in the class who is not aware about what is a Salesforce database? Anyone?
No.
Okay, it means like everyone is aware about database. What is database? So basically database has a combination of tables, right? So what is a table? Table has columns and rows. So we generally store some data, the information into tables, right? So let's say if you have a account object, an account object, you have lots of accounts. So all the accounts, those are in the account object. Basically we have those records in the account database table, right? Is that clear? So like if you will talk about the other languages, then you need to make a connection like in from the front end. So let's say if I will fill this form, if I will hit save, then this complete information will go and save into database. The table, we have the table called account in the database, and this complete information will be saved in database, right? So now if I will talk about any .NET, Java, or anything, that in that case you have to create a connection between your front end and your database, right? Let's say if I will put some arrows here. So you have to create a connection with database to put some information, and then you have to close the connection when the complete information is saved into database. But here in Salesforce, you don't have to create the connection. You don't need it, right? It is not required. So you can, without a connection, because both the things are on premises, so you can directly create a record, or you can directly interact with the database without creating any connection. You don't have to make any connection between Salesforce front end and Salesforce database. So you can directly touch the database without making any connection. But one more thing that is necessary, that is like for other languages you have database like SQL, Oracle, or something like that. But in this case, you can't even see the database uh, that is we are using in salesforce.com. So you can't even see, you can't even check like what is there in the database, what kind of functionality, what kind of structure we have in that database. The only thing that you can view here is the database in the form of the object. So as we all are aware, each and every tab, each and every custom or standard object we have in Salesforce, that is the database table in database. Is that clear, guys? Any question till now?
Clear now? Yeah,
Clear, clear.
clear.
Okay. Okay. So now, so basically in programming, there are four major things that you need to do, right? Those major things are called as CRUD operations. Guys, mostly you will only do these four operations. So what is in CRUD operation? C for create, R for read, U for update, and D for delete. So these are the four operations that you will do. Either it is programming or by the front end you are using right now. So you will always see that the data, if you want to read the data, you can simply click on the tab and data will be visible, right? But if you want to just insert the data, you have to open this page layout and you can fill the information. And after clicking on save, the data will be saved on database platform, right? And again, if you want to edit, then you can simply open the record and do the needful and just hit the save or update, right? And same for the delete, you can simply hit the delete button and data will be deleted. All these operations will be performed on database. So you will see that those operations are performing on the front end, but basically those operations are performed in database, right? So because we have the complete data in database, we don't have anything in front end, but your front end is connected with database. That is why all the changes visible on the front end, right? Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
So now using of code, right, you can simply achieve a different functionality. So as you can see the complete software, right? So you can create each and everything that is already available in this software by using code. So you can simply do whatever you want, right? So you can simply create anything, right, using Apex code. As we all are aware, this particular software is pre-built by Salesforce.com. We are only customizing it or enhancing it. So Salesforce has already used some kind of language. So they have used Apex and Visual Force and JavaScript to just build this software, or we can also write our own Apex. So we have a different layer. So Salesforce has created this software and they have put in all the classes, all the code in a different code layer, and we'll also write our code, and that code will be in a different layer, right? So we'll discuss all these layers in forthcoming lectures. So right now I just want to explain you the basics. So we'll use a language called Apex, right? In order to write the code, in order to write the business logic that you want to achieve. And the communication, if you want to read the data, and if you want to show the data on a page on UI, then you will use SOQL. What is SOQL? It is something like Oracle or SQL. SOQL stays for Object Query Language. So basically, we will use this particular language just to retrieve the data from the database. The only use case we have of SOQL is just to retrieve, just to read the data from database. So we'll also study the complete thing that we have in SOQL. And as I said, like if you want to design something, you can use HTML as well. You can use CSS. You can use JavaScript, and you can also use VF, that is called Visual Force, right? So you can use all these languages, all these scripting language, or you can say the language, right, to just build your UI, to just build your design of a page. Apex to achieve the business logic, right? Apex to achieve the business logic, and SQL to read the data, SOQL to read the data from database. So let's just start Apex. Apex is a strongly typed language, right? So what do you mean by strongly typed? It is an object-oriented language. It means that it will follow all the object-oriented concepts we will discuss in our forthcoming lectures, and it is also a strongly typed language. So what do you mean by strongly typed? Can anyone explain?
Like each and everything should be declared before defining that.
So as I will explain you what is a data type. So let me just explain you what is it. So let's say if I am writing a string here, string A, I'm just declaring a variable here. So we'll explain you what is a variable and all these things, right? So string A is equals to, let's say, 15, right? And I'm also writing another thing called string B, right? If I will type it like 10, right? So, and if I will say like string C equals to A plus B, then everybody will see that like 10 to 15 both are numbers. So in your mind the result should be 25, right? It should be like this,
No.
right?
Yeah,
No.
But
it
it
should be
is
50 plus 10.
yeah, it is not, because yeah, absolutely right, Randeep. So the result will be A plus B 15 plus 10. So what, as we have typed these variables as stringed, and Apex is a strongly typed language, right? Then what it will do, it will concatenate both these values, like the result will be 1510.
Mm.
Okay guys,
Yes.
the result will be
1,000.
15.
1510,
Yeah,
right?
10. Yeah.
Okay, so this is called as strongly typed language. We will also discuss this thing in detail. Okay, so what is in a language? So what is in a programming is nothing, just a calculation, just to achieve some calculation can be in any form of business, right? So let's say if you want to create a calculator, right? So what we have in calculator, so every time you are pressing some values and you are just pressing an operator, so it will give you the result based on the operator, right? So that is also a program. Okay, so so in we have different type of problems in our business, so we want to just automate those problems using some calculations, using some instructions, right? All these things are programming. So we have Apex just to achieve those kind of, just to solve those kind of problems in our software, right? So Apex is a object oriented programming language, and we will write the complete code of Apex in form of class. So guys, what is in class? So everybody will say like there is a bookish definition of class, is like class is a blueprint, right guys? How many of you are aware like class is a blueprint? Those who have done BTech or MCA, those are aware that the class is a blueprint of object or something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you all are aware that class is a blueprint. But if I will ask you what is a blueprint, can you just explain? As you have given the definition that class is a blueprint, right? But if I will ask you, can you just further explain how can you say that class is a blueprint? What is a blueprint, right?
It's
No,
template.
actually, the blueprint means is the layout of anything.
Absolutely correct, Randeep. So basically, let's say you have something, right? Something to build. Like say you are just building your home, right? On a particular land, right? So you will ask your architect just to build the structure that you want to achieve, right? So your class is nothing, just a structure of what you want to build, and everything that you want to build will come in class only. So class, if you will ask me about the definition, I will always say that class is nothing, just a container. It is a capsule of different type of thing, right? What is in capsule? Capsule is a combination of different type of medicines. In the same way, like if you have a different things and the purpose is same. Purpose means like, let's say if you want to build your house, then you have rooms, you have bathrooms, you have living room, so you have different type of structure, but the blueprint is same for all the structures. So like if you want to achieve, let's say if you want to create a calculator has a different of functionality, right? You can achieve, you can calculate percentage, you can plus minus subtract, sorry, plus subtraction, division, multiplication. There are a lot of other things that you can achieve using calculator, but calculator uh, is an individual entity, right? So you can achieve each and everything into a single entity called calculator. In the same way, like class is nothing, just a container. And for me, right? So let's say, as I said, like we all are learning Salesforce here, right? So everybody is learning Salesforce. So if I will ask, and we all are learning in a class, right? So if somebody wants to call you guys, right? So there are two ways, right? The one is like you can be called by your names one by one, and the second way is like you can be called using a class called Salesforce class. Can you please come out? Something like that, right? So it is always better to just combined the related thing into a single container. So Salesforce is just nothing, sorry, class is nothing, just a container for me, right? It is a blueprint, it is a structure the of the logic that you want to achieve, right? So we will write each and everything into a class, right? So let's say you want to create a calculator. So what you will do is you will create a calc class, and you will write your logic here. So this is not the right syntax to write the class, but I'm just telling you, you will write each and everything that is related to calculator between these curly braces. So calculator will contain all the logic that is related to achieve all the functionality in the calculator. Okay guys, is that clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the second part of this thing is like how you will do the programming. How will computer understand what you want to achieve, right? The instructions, right? How it will store the values, right? So guys, the only thing that I generally say is, for programming there are three things those are necessary, right? The one is value, and the second one is type of value, and the third thing is operator, right? So basically these are the three things, right, that those are necessary to achieve your business logic, achieve your calculation, right? So as we all do, we all generally do the programming every time. So let's say if somebody will ask you just give me the result, like 10 minus 5, what will be the result? So what you will do? Yeah, first you will store 10 in your mind, right? And secondly, you will store 5 in your mind, and then you will see that what kind of operation that you want to perform on 10 and 5. So you will see that you need to subtract 5 from 10, right? And you will also store the result and will explain the result to somebody who is asking your question. Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So in same way you will do the programming in computer as well. So I'm just writing the same question here in programming, right? In programming form, right? So let's say I have one value called 10 and second value called 5, and then this is the operator, and we'll also store the result. So as I said that there are three things those are necessary, but these are values, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as we all know that Apex is a strongly typed language, right? So you need to define the type of these values as well. Otherwise, if it is not a strongly typed language, then it can be considered as 10 and 5 both can be concatenated, right? So first you have to tell the computer that what kind of value these are, right? So those type those types are called as data type. Those types are called as data types, right? So what is a data type, guys? What is a data type?
So data type specifies about the type of the value, like whether
Absolutely.
it is
Why we need it, Sonali? Just a simple question. Why we need it? Value is a value, right? So
so for an example, can I explain with some example?
yeah, please go ahead.
If they're in a class, there are number of students, so each one of them are given some name. So I
Okay.
think the value must be given is of some type so that we can identify it.
A- Absolutely right. So guys, if I will explain in a more easier way, right? So everything that is in our world, right, in the live real world, right, has an type, right? So let's say water, some solid material, everything has a type, right? So if you if you want to store some kind of solid material, you can store that into a bag or in a container, right? But if you want to store some water, so you can't simply store that water into a bag, right? So in the same way, right, in programming, right, so you have to define the what type of value, and in the same way you have to choose the container of that value in which that value can be stored, right? So here we have a different type of data types, right, that we'll study here. Let me just explain the data types to you. Just give me a minute, let me just bring out all the data types. So we have two type of data type, basically the primitive data type and user defined. So what do you mean by primitive and user defined data types? Can anybody explain?
Primitive data types are the data types which are defined in the language itself. User defined data types are kind of flexible.
Absolutely correct, right? So let's just first discuss the primitive data types we have in Salesforce. So guys, we have some primitive data types. So guys, can anyone of you explain what all are the primitive data types we generally have?
We have integers,
String,
Correct. We have integer, sorry,
string,
Float,
string,
integer, string, correct.
double,
Float, we don't have float here. For floating point,
Double.
we have double.
Double. Yes.
Yeah, integer, string,
boolean,
boolean, correct.
boolean, decimal.
Okay. Yep. For decimal, we have double here.
Okay.
You can also use decimal, but we have double here. Okay. What else?
ID,
Your voice
ID,
is very low.
ID,
Absolutely correct.
ID.
ID,
date, time,
date time,
correct. Date, time,
text,
text is like a string.
object,
What else?
Object will not be
Object is not a primitive.
User-
This is a
primitive.
non-primitive data type.
Yeah.
What do you think? What else we have? So we have integer. So there is a bigger part of integer we have is like long,
Long. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And we have double, we have string, ID, boolean. We have covered each and everything, right? So integer, long, string, boolean, double, ID, date, time. All these are called primitive data types, right? And we also have collections, right? So what all collections we have?
list,
List,
map,
set,
Set,
map,
map, correct. So we'll discuss all these in very detail, okay? And what else we have? We have one more data type called as object,
yeah.
right? So what is an as object?
Salesforce standard object.
It is not a standard, right? Salesforce object, it can be
Object is
standard, or, yeah, it can be
Maybe
standard or
custom.
custom both. Okay.
Yeah.
We also have enums.
Yes.
Okay. We also have classes.
Yeah.
Along with classes, we have object as a data type, right? And we also have interfaces, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes. Interfaces. Yeah.
Okay. So these are the data types we have in Salesforce. So we can store our value. We have to decide what kind of value we are going to store in Salesforce memory, and we need to choose our data type accordingly. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's start with integer. So integer, what kind of value in integer, right? What kind of value you will store in integer?
Numerical.
Absolutely. Numerical, non-floating values, right? What do you mean by non-floating values?
Without decimal.
Without
Not
decimal.
decimal.
Absolutely. So you can store any value that doesn't have decimal, right, into integer. So integer is nothing but a 32-bit number. What do you mean by 32-bit number? Guys, it sounds like a more complex one, but it has a range actually. So it will starts from it is very hard to remember. Let me just paste it here. Okay, so it starts from -2 147 483 648, and the maximum value is up to this. Is that correct, guys? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
how will you declare this variable? How will you declare the integer variable? So integer is a keyword defined in Salesforce. So you can simply use integer and a number, a variable name, the name that will point that memory location not memory location, that will point the value in the memory location. So let's say you want to store a value 1, so you can simply give the name as value 1. It's just a name, so you can give any name and equals to the value. So it is optional, like if you want to assign the value, you can assign it on first place, or either you can assign it after declaring it in your business logic. Okay, so it is optional. Okay, value is optional. We'll also discuss some access specifier later on that we need to use before the integer keyword, but this is the syntax that you will use. That semicolon, it is basically to terminate any expression, any kind of logic, any kind of line. So you can also call it as line breaker, right? And the next one is long. What is long, guys? It is just a
64-bit number.
yeah,
64-bit number.
absolutely correct. It is a 64-bit number,
64 bit.
right?
64-bit number.
Yeah.
So if you want to store a larger value, okay, then you will use long.
Long.
Okay, and the value is accordingly it is something like that. Let me just something like that. This. Okay, so you can simply just use it as per your requirement. Okay, so like if you are banking system or any kind of finance domain, then you will need to use long. Otherwise, integer is always sufficient for you guys. Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
guys.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So next one is string. So what is an string?
So string may be any character within the single quotes.
Yes, string is any set of characters within a single quotes.
Single
Absolutely
quote.
correct. It doesn't have any limit, like the number of character, right? Clear, guys?
Yeah.
It is a set of characters. Okay, nothing, just a set of characters in single quotes. Clear, guys?
Yes.
What is Boolean?
2 and
True
5.
or false?
True or false?
0 1.
Guys, you will declare all these things, like in place of integer, you will use all these data types. The weight of declaration is same. For long, you will use long. For string, you will use string. But the value in a string will always be in single quotes. So let's say if you want to string name is equals to, let's say, if I will say Randeep, right? So this is a string. The value of a string is always in a quotes. Okay? Clear, guys?
Yes.
Now Boolean. What is a Boolean? What do you think what it can be?
0 and 1.
Like a logic.
Logic.
Absolutely, true or false.
True
0
or
and
false.
1, right? But it
Yeah.
has 3 values.
Null.
Null. Null is
Okay.
a value. Yeah.
True,
False
false,
and null.
and null. Okay?
Yeah.
So guys, when you will get null?
When you
When you
can't define anything, or when you
Absolutely,
define it as 0.
absolutely. Let's say if I will declare Boolean, like say I'm just
Boolean.
is checked, right? I've just declared this variable. I'm not assigning any value to it, right? So if you will access each tag, then you will get null, right? And if you will assign a value, then you will get the value that is assigned to it. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Any question till now, guys?
No.
No.
Okay. What is double, guys?
Anything in the
Decimal.
Decimal. Absolutely
Uh,
correct. So if you want to store a decimal point, then you will use double, right? So in decimal, basically you will have only two place of decimal value, two place of floating value. But in double, you can use multiple places of floating value. Okay, guys? So you can use floating values here. Okay, floating point value. Okay.
Yeah.
And what is ID, guys?
Unique 18
Yeah.
character.
maximum of 18 characters.
Maximum of 18.
So we have two type of IDs in Salesforce: a 15
16.
character
15.
and a 18 character. Right? 18 character is unique, 15 character is not, right? So we'll discuss 15 and 18 characters later on. But right now, let me explain what is an ID. So in Salesforce, right? In this particular org, like that is visible in front of you, right? Everything that you have in form of a record, class, object, everything has an ID, right? So let's say if I will click on account, and if I will go with the all account, so that's one record, right? So you can see here we have this ID, right? Right?
Yeah.
So this is a unique ID that is only for this record, right? So if you will just copy this ID, and if you will go anywhere in this org, let me just open something else in the new tab, and after .com, if you will paste that ID, right? Let me just paste it. I've just pasted that ID, and if I will hit enter, then it will open, that ID will open the record that is related to that ID, right? So it means that there is something always attached with the ID. ID is uniquely for some entity. It can be a record, it can be a class, it can be an object, it can be a field. Everything has an ID. Is that clear, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What next?
Collections.
Date time.
So it's a collection of date and time.
Absolutely, right? So if you want to store the collection of date and time, you can use date time. Date is only used to store the date. Okay? Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Guys, there is one more data type called blob here. Sorry I forgot that, right?
Fine, thank
There is
you.
one more data type called blob here. So what is in a blob? What do you think what it can be?
Binary
Fine.
large object.
Every large object.
With picture
Okay,
image.
so that is a book's definition. Can you just explain it in a simpler way?
Basically,
Binary
file
data
type.
stored as a single object.
I can say it can store document objects like store images, pictures, documents, files.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So larger strings, larger objects that you can store in a blob. Okay, guys?
Yes.
Larger object you can store into a blob. Blob is a collection of binary data basically, right? So like if anybody worked on Java or .NET, so if in those languages, if you want to store any kind of image or any document, then you have a data type called binary, right? But the same thing you can use here as blob, right? So if you want to store an attachment or anything that as a document, you can store it in a blob. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
Any question till now?
No.
Now we have collections. Collection will study in a different class or in a different session, but I'm just giving you an overview. So here the complete data types we have discussed, those are just containing a single value. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's say if you are studying in a higher secondary, right? And you are just getting your mark sheet, right? In mark sheet, you have numbers in English, maths, right? Or different. So let's say if you want to store your score of math, then what you will do? you will simply declare a variable called integer,
Yeah.
and you will declare math as a variable name, and let's say you can say 90 out of 100. Okay, you can store like that. You can simply store 90.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's say if somebody will ask you to store your complete score in your higher secondary, then what will you do?
Will make a collection like
Absolutely. So you
list.
need a array kind of thing. So you need a collection of multiple values, right?
Yeah.
So we have for multiple value storage, right? So we have collections. So we have
Okay.
three type of collections: list, set, and map. Will
Yeah.
These are the classes we have. So we'll discuss in detail all these topics, right? But for now, just think that these are the variables to store multiple values, right? In a single variable. Okay.
सर एक डाउट है
हाँ जी प्लीज.
सर नल बुलियन में कब कैसे स्टोर
null, like if you are
नल
no
तो स्ट्रिंग होता है ना सर
null कभी string कहाँ होता है? null is nothing, right?
सर
null
अगर
is
हमें
null.
स्ट्रिंग में कोई वैल्यू स्टोर नहीं करते तब उसकी वैल्यू
तब
नल
भी null आता है, वो अलग फंडा है, वो undefined वाला फंडा है. Will explain you that. But here the same thing here as well. So if you are not storing any value in a boolean variable as well, then it is called as null, because you can't define it like a false or true value, because you haven't initialized it yet, right? So if you are not initializing anything, then you will always get null. It is
सर
not
बाय
related to
डिफॉल्ट बुलियन की वैल्यू फॉल्स होती है आप
no, it is not by default false. You have to make it false or true in your front end. But in coding, if you will not define it, then it will called as null. Like if you will also not define any value in a list as well, that then it will give you a null pointer exception or something like that, right? So always, like if something is not defined, then that will return you null here in Apex, right? So it is not specifically with the string. So don't compare boolean with your UI. In UI it is well managed, because Salesforce always think that UI is basically for users. Those can be non-technical. But if somebody is writing code, then he should be technical, right? So you have to manage your value, either it will be null or true or false. Okay. And the next one is enum. Who will explain enum?
The constant value, like just like seasons, like winter.
Absolutely right. It is an abstract data type, right?
Yeah.
So enum can store a constant values, like let's say if I will say the enum
12 month
Noida companies or
Yeah.
companies, or you can store a different enums like SCL, TCS, something like that, right? So you can declare a enum. And what is in class and object and interfaces? Class, object, and interfaces we will discuss in a forthcoming lecture. Okay, so these are the data types that we have, right? These are the data type we have in Salesforce. Any question till now, guys?
Can you repeat for enums? Actually, there was a lag at my side.
Okay, so enum is nothing, just an abstract data type. Abstract data type is constant data type that you can, constant values that you can store. Like we need to use the company that we have in Noida who all are working on Salesforce, right? So you can simply describe abstract data type variable, and you can simply use that directly, right? So like we have declared here, enum Noida company, SCL, TCS, the value, the combination of values of that abstract data type you can simply assign here in Noida comp. So we'll also take a example along with the collections for enum. Okay.
So according to you, the Noida Comp is a group of all the employees who's working for Noida.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Correct. Okay, so we'll discuss this in detail. Okay, the enum thing with the example. So right now you are aware about what is a primitive data types.
Yeah.
Right now we will discuss about what is a class. Guys, what is a class? Class is a, as we all are aware that class is a part of OOPS concept. So there is a OOPS concept called encapsulation. Class is a perfect example of encapsulation. So as I already explained, class is a combination of, class is a container of us different data members, class members, methods, right, properties. So why we need your class? Because we, if you will declare, if you, let's say if you have 100 variables of similar type, somebody else is also having 100 variables, so it will be very difficult to find out a particular variable that is related to your logic, right? So it is always better to just group those things, right, with a logic structure, with a logical structure. So programming, in programming for OOPS concept we have a structure called class, right? And every code that you are writing in Salesforce or in any language has a specific limit of access. So that limit of access can be described using some access specifiers. Specifiers, guys, can anybody explain what is access specifiers?
Like public, private?
Yes. The one is global.
Global.
Yeah.
Second one is
Public.
Public. Third one is protected.
Protected. Oh, private.
Fourth one is private.
Private.
What is in global?
So global we can use within like two systems, from Apex to Java.
Yeah, you are right. But
within
let me,
organization.
yes, absolutely. Let me just explain it in a more simpler way. Okay. Okay. So let's say I have a class here. This is a class we have created in Salesforce, and this class is just showing the temperature, right? So, and I have another web service in a different Salesforce org or a Java or anything. So if you want to call this class into outside of your Salesforce org, if you want to call this particular class outside of this Salesforce org, right? So you have your Salesforce org here. This is your Salesforce org. Salesforce org means your Salesforce software in your company, right? This is your Salesforce software, right? Or I can say the Salesforce software 1. And this is any other software, or you can say the Salesforce org 2. Org 2 or any other. So if you want to call this class outside of your Salesforce org, then you need to make this class as
global.
Correct, guys. Then you need to make this class as global.
Global.
Like when you deal with the client side, and you
absolutely. So we'll discuss something called web service in our coming classes, right? So for every web service or that kind of stuff, because web service can be called outside of your Salesforce org, right? It can be called with another services, right? So in that case, you will declare your web service classes as in global. Clear, guys?
Yeah.
Any question from anybody?
No.
Clear to everyone?
Yes.
You can use your keyword like this. So let's say if I want to create a global class, then your class syntax is something like that. Your access specifier, or you can say modifier, access specifier, and what next? Your class keyword and your class name. right? So this is your class structure. So this is scope, right? So these particular braces will tell like this class will start from here and will close here. Clear, guys?
Yes.
And for access specifier, let's say I'm replacing it with global. Okay, class and class name. So let's say I am creating a calculator, so I'm just giving class name as calc. So this is the syntax to create a class, class name, and you can also use static or something like that we'll discuss later on. Okay, so global class calc, and you will, these are the scope, right? So this particular class can be used anywhere, right? Anywhere outside of your Salesforce org. Okay, and what is next? The next one is public. Guys, what is public?
Which can be accessed on a public field.
Accessible to everyone.
In same org.
Correct. So this is your org. This is your Salesforce org, right? This is your Salesforce org. Salesforce org, and you have different classes here. Let's say class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, right? So if your classes are like public, so this is also a public class, right? This is also a public class, right? And this is also a public class, right? So these classes can be used in each other. These classes can be used in different other classes, right? Like this can be used here, this can be used here, like this. So internally in the Salesforce org, you can use any public thing into anywhere in the complete org, right? So we will discuss in a programming way as well. So I will show you how you can achieve these things in a programming way. But public is something that you can call from anywhere in the same org. We have global can be accessed outside of the Salesforce, but public cannot be accessed outside of the Salesforce. It can only be accessed using internally in any class of Salesforce. Okay.
So in one class, we can use the other class which already defined it.
That's true, right? So we have a
Okay.
concept called inheritance, right?
Yeah.
So we'll do that. Okay, we'll show you. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any question and from anybody right now? Just give me a minute, guys. Just give me a minute. Okay, guys. So this is public, and then we have protected. So guys, can anybody explain what is protected? So for public, you can simply replace global. Guys, can anybody explain what is protected?
Accessible in inherited class.
Absolutely. Who told it?
Class have the
Bina.
access of the parent class.
Hey Bina, very good. So it is basically for inheritance, right? So it is, if you are using protected, you can use the parent class into child class, parent class members into child class. We'll discuss in a very detail when we will discuss inheritance. Okay. And what is private, guys?
Not accessible outside the class.
Not access. Yeah, only within the class, within specified class.
If class is private, then it cannot be accessible anywhere.
Anywhere.
But you cannot create a private class in Salesforce. Okay. But if anything that like any variable you will declare, like public integer, sorry, let me make it as private integer a is equals to 5. But if you want to use it outside of this class, as class is public but the variable is private, so you can't be able to use it outside of this class. You can only use this variable inside of this class. Is that clear, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any question on this?
No.
No.
Okay.
No,
So guys, one more thing. So the thing is, like if you are listening object oriented programming, then there is a concept called reusability that will come in your mind, right? So what is reusability? So basically object oriented programming is designed for reusability. So what is a class and what is an object? So we'll discuss the object and class combination here. So I'm just creating a simple class here. Public class, let's say calc here, and I am declaring 3 variables here. Public a is equals to 5, sorry, integer. Apex is not case sensitive, so you can write your code as per your choice, like smaller or capital, whatever. Public integer b is equals to 10. So if you want to use these 2 variables, then you cannot use directly, right? Because these are contained in a class. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to create an object of this class. You have to create an object of this class. So what is an object? Let me just create an object. So object creation can be like this.
Class. Yes.
Right? Right, guys?
Yeah.
If some of you are aware, like this is a way to create an object. We'll discuss this in detail if you guys are not aware about it, right? So why we need it actually? Can anyone explain why we need to create an object?
To access the class parameters, what all are there encapsulated in the class.
So by using object, we can take the values from the class or call the methods.
So it actually creates a value in the memory. So it's
according to
like,
me, it create a portion in the memory of the class.
so it creates a
It improves
value in
reusability.
memory.
Yeah, something related to memory. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Memory allocated.
Yes.
Yes. So basically, you can't use it like the class name is calc or calc dot a, right? So you can't use it like this, because the thing is, right, everything, right, every class you are creating. So what happens, like I have created this class and now I'm pressing the save button. So what will happen at that time?
Nothing happen if you do not make an object for this. So nothing will save.
Okay. Anyone else? So every time you will hit save after creating any class, right? So basically the compiler will check like if you are writing the right syntax. So what is in a syntax? The way of writing a code, right? So let's say this is a language, right? This is a language called Apex, right? In the same way, like we have, let's say if you all are learning English language, right? So in English language, there are certain grammar rules, right, that you need to follow. Otherwise, your sentence will be called as incorrect. Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
So in the same way, right? In the same way, in programming as well, there are certain rules. So if you will write this variable like integer public a is equal to 5, is that correct?
No.
No.
Syntax error
No?
will come.
And if you will try to save this class, it will throw an error, right? Because this is not the
Yeah.
right way to declare a variable. The
Yeah.
access specifier should come first. Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, the Salesforce the platform, the Force.com platform, the compiler will check, right? So if whatever you have written in this class, it is syntactically correct or not. So at the time of save, right, if everything is correct, if everything is not correct, then it will throw an error. You have to correct that before saving it into memory, right? But there are two type of memory that will be used at the time of saving this class. Those two type of memories are called heap and stack. Basically, the managed heap or unmanaged heap. So it is up to you how you want to explain it. Okay. So I am simply explaining it as heap and stack. So I'm just explaining you as a layman form so that you can understand it clearly.
Your voice is lagging actually.
Yeah, Pratik.
Okay. Is that fine now?
All
Yeah.
good.
Okay. So guys, this particular memory, I'm just naming it as an heap. Okay. And I'm naming it as a stack. So guys, you know the concept of a retail shop or a godam,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Everybody is aware, right? What is an storeroom or what is an a retail shop?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
जिसे कहते हैं ना हिंदी में थोक विक्रेता और रिटेल विक्रेता, right?
Yeah.
So
Distributor.
distributor kind of stuff, right? So every time you are creating a class, right, that will be saved in heap. The reference of that class will be saved in heap. So we have just created a class, right, called calc, right? So
Yeah.
this particular class and its member will be saved into heap, right? And heap is a bulk memory location. It is like a godam, right? It is like a storeroom, right? And every, let's say you have 100 different developers and they are just creating a different classes, then all these things will be saved into heap. All the classes will be saved into heap, and there will be no exact address where your class is saved. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
There will be
Yeah.
no exact address, so it will be very hard to call that class directly from heap, right? It is very hard to call that class directly from heap, because if a retail shopkeeper wants to get some raw material, that and those raw material will be saved into storeroom first, into its godam first, right? And then as and when needed, that will be called by retail shop. Is that correct? Is
Yeah.
that the concept, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? In same way, right? So in same way, right, every class, so we are just creating the classes, right? We are not ready to use these classes. We are just creating a logic, right? So we will call them as and when needed. These classes can be called by a UI or a page or anything, right? On these classes can be called by user. So these classes are not called every time. These will be called as and when needed, right? So why we should store these classes directly into stack? These can be stored into a storeroom, and whenever is required, we will bring back into stack like a retail shop, right? So uh, every class is stored into heap, and there is no memory location of these classes, so you cannot directly retrieve these classes. So we like so you cannot call a variable directly with the class name, because you don't know where your calc is stored in memory. Is that clear, guys, till now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so now you need this particular line to basically call that class, because what this particular line is doing, this line is basically assigning the memory for a class in from heap to stack. Okay guys, this particular class is basically giving memory of this class into heap to stack, like this. Okay, so how will it happen, right? So basically, can you just read this line? So guys, just give me one thing, just give me one answer, right? So let me explain. If I will ask you guys to just shift your home from one place to another, then what will you do? You will call some kind of packers and mover, right? And they will bring a truck just to shift your luggage. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Because your luggage can't be shifted into a bag, right? You need a complete truck to shift that. So for every kind of value, you need a same type of data type to shift that, right? To store that. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
So now, just give me the answer. What you are shifting from here to here?
Integers.
Basically class.
Like class.
Data.
Class.
Absolutely,
data.
guys. You are shifting class from here to here. Am I right?
Yeah.
So what kind of variable you need?
Object variable.
Reference.
You need a class type.
Class
right?
type variable.
Class type.
Yeah.
We have a variable called class, right? We have discussed. We have a data type called class.
Yeah.
Right? So you can see here, we have also mentioned that we have a data type called class, right?
Yeah.
So we need a class type. So what is obj? Obj is a name, right? So it can be anything, right? It can be objp, or it can be anything. It's just a name, right? It's just a variable name. And what type of variable it is?
Class type.
Calc type.
Calc type.
Yeah.
Because we need to shift calc, right?
Yeah,
so what is calc? Calc is a class, or data type can be a class type. So now you should be able to understand what is a class data type, right guys?
Yes.
And we are using a keyword called new. New keyword is basically allocating a new memory location into stack. Okay.
Yeah,
And what is this? This is a constructor. So we'll discuss in detail what is a constructor. Okay.
So one quick question. So this objp is a reference variable which give reference for the class.
Absolutely correct. Correct.
Okay.
It's just a variable, right? So the reference will always be in heap for a class, and the value will be stored into stack, because you will always call the value. You don't know what is a b c d. You will always call the value using a b c d. Okay, the variable name.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what will happen? So your class will get the memory into stack.
Yeah.
And now the name of the class is calc here in heap, but in stack, what will be the name? Guys, objp.
Objp.
The variable name that you have declared, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
that will point the new memory location.
The P will be the new location, like
right,
OBJP
right.
or command P. Okay.
Right. OBJP will be holding the new memory location, right? And this particular memory location is having a particular address, right? And you can simply access all your detail directly using OBJP. So instead of calc, if you will use OBJP, you will be able to get the value of A, okay? Because it is now stored in OBJP.
So
yeah, go ahead.
So after define OPJ, so we can use that OPJ to define anything.
Right, absolutely. So now your A value is here. A is equals to whatever the value that you have given initially. So what you have given initially, A is equals to 5. So A is equals to 5 is stored here. Okay. And if you want to change the value of A, so you can simply do objp.a is equals to, let's say, 15. So what? Just read the complete sentence. First it will go to objp and then dot a. It means it will point this, right? And it will change the value of this, like 15. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah.
And there is one more thing. So you can create multiple object, as many object of a class as you want, right? So you can simply create one more object of a class. Let's say I'm just naming it objp2. Okay. And there is one more object. obj p3. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
So what will happen? So there will be 3 memory locations, right? For the same class, 3 different replicas. Clear, guys?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me just give the names. obj p2 and this one is obj p3. 3. And see, if you want, now these class will be obj p1 will have a is equals to 5 again, and a is equals to again 5, because you have changed the value of obj p dot a. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So you have changed the value of obj p dot a. So now you have 3 different copy of calc class. So you can store the value as and when needed. So let's say if you want to just keep the value of a in 50 equal to 15 in obj p, and for obj p2 you want to just keep it as 5, and for 3 you want just keep it as 10. So you can simply go and simply assign it like that: obj p
Yeah.
dot a is equals to 10, right? So it will not change the value of all the a. It will only change the value of a that is stored in obj p3. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, guys.
Yes.
Any question from anybody till now, guys?
Yes, Pratik, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Pratik, like suppose we have obj p object, we have enough functionality from that. Now we don't require it. So can we use that same object to, same memory to clear the old data and
Yes, you can
clear?
you can simply use dot clear functionality. So we'll use that. Okay. So you can simply destroy the object and create a new one, or if you want to use same, so you have to clear the value.
Okay, after clearing it, we can point it to any other class, right?
Right.
On the same memory
No,
location, the other
you
class
you
will be
want you
pointed.
want to point the same object to another class, right?
Yes,
So
but
no,
after
you have to first either you have to do it in another scope, but in same scope you can't do that.
uh,
You know
like we have
what is scope? Let me just explain. So let's say we have another class called C, right? In this
yeah,
class, Calc 2, okay? In this
mhm,
class, what I have is, let's say, if you want to
same.
create an object here, right? And in the same place, you want same object to be pointed another class. Let's say Calc 3. That is not possible. Okay? If you want, if you will call this object outside of this scope, outside of these curly braces, then it
Mhm.
can be point out, because this scope is only limited to these particular scopes.
No,
But
that I got.
it will always better to use a different name.
No, that is fine. Like if I say like we have only say one class cal C, okay, and we have another class cal 2. We have two
Uh-huh.
classes.
Uh-huh.
Then we object P is pointed to cal C, and now I want to point object P to cal 2. First, I will clear that object P, and then I will point to cal 2, right?
Yes, you can do that.
So
You can do that now.
it will assign the same memory location, or memory location will be different.
Memory location, if you are pointing it again, because you have to call it you have to call the constructor again, right? So if
Yes.
you are pointing it out again, so if you are calling the constructor again, the memory location will be changed.
Okay.
But as a programmer, you don't have any impact on that, right?
Yeah.
So if it is clearing and assigning a new memory location, that won't be a matter, right? So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are not
Yeah.
accessing the memory location with the
Memory
address.
location. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else have any question till now?
No.
So is it clear till now for everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's just keep it this today. Just read this video. Just I will upload this video on YouTube, and I will share you guys a link of this video. Okay. And you can just watch this video again. And if you have any question,